Study Session 12. Syntax, Phrase Structure Grammar. Introduction. The last lecture introduced you to one of the earliest approaches to syntactic analysis. This is immediate constituent analysis. You were also introduced to the process of labeling constituent structures. You will now learn a new approach called phrase structure grammar. At the level of phrase structure, a sentence is represented by a set of strings or sequence of words, not by a single string. Each set has its own system of rules known as phrase structure rules. Phrase structure grammar therefore provides rules for constructing phrase structures like noun phrase, verb phrase, and prepositional phrase. Objective. At the end of this lecture, you should be able to recognize different phrasal categories in English and analyze their internal structures. Pretest. 1. Can you think of any 2-word, 3-word, and 4-word utterances of English? 2. Can you identify them with their grammatical names? Content, phrase, and its constituents. A phrase is lower than a clause but higher than a word in the grammatical hierarchy. Simply defined, a phrase is a group of words with no subject or predicate of its own. Different kinds of phrases can be identified. A noun phrase, for example, the boys, the 2 cars, the cleaner in the office. B, verb phrase, for example, go, can go, must have gone. C, prepositional phrase, for example, in the office, behind the bar, on the table. D, adjective phrase, for example, very happy, too tired. And E, adverbial phrase, for example, very soon. As we can see, phrasal categories have their internal structure, which will normally be defined in terms of lexical or other phrasal categories that go together to form them. Identifying phrasal categories is to a large extent a lexical word class and morphological matter. As you already know, grammar is to provide a systematic account for the distribution of forms into classes. So far, we have found the following constituent structures. A sentence, S, has as constituent, NP plus VP. A verb phrase, VP, has as constituent, V plus NP. A verb phrase, VP, has as constituent, V. A noun phrase, NP, has as constituent, det plus N. A noun phrase, NP, has as constituent, N. A noun phrase, NP, has as constituent, PN, personal noun. A noun phrase, NP, has as constituent, pronoun. You will discover that the membership of each class of mutually substitutable paradigms of a word, example, N, enter a form class, example, NP. Recognizing phrasal categories. Corresponding to each of the major lexical categories, noun, verb, preposition, is a phrasal category of NP, noun phrase, VP, verb phrase, PP, prepositional phrase, and so on. Every lexical category or word used in an utterance adds a phrase. Thus, we have noun phrase in tall children, added by the noun children, as head word. The phrasal category of NP contains as a minimum an N which may co-occur with other specified lexical or phrasal categories as in the following: NP, N, example, boy, dogs, vermin, people. PN, personal noun, example, John, Mary, Harry. Dirt, N, example, the boy, those dogs. Date, adjective, noun, example, the big boy, those little girls. Date, N, PP, example, the girl with a big bag, the cat with a long tail. On similar lines, we can establish a category of VP. It will consist minimally of a verb, which may optionally co-occur with other constituents. So, for example, any of the following will co-occur as VPs in English: VP, V, PP, example, sat on the mat, lay on the table. V, adj, P, example, seemed clever, was big, became fat. V, NP, NP, example, gave the boy a bar of chocolate, sent his mother a Christmas present. V, example, died, laughed, smiled. By the same procedure, we can establish the internal structure of other phrasal categories in English. The prepositional phrase will have as constituents a preposition usually followed by an NP. PP, prep, NP. Example, on the mat, near the door. Prep, example, down, he fell down. Up, he came up. We can also establish an adjective phrase, which will consist minimally of an adjective optionally preceded by an interensifier. AP, adjective, example, big, small, happy, etc. Int adjective, example, very happy, extremely big. Tree diagram and phrase structure rules. The tree diagram is a notational device which is entirely equivalent to label bracketing. Although it looks different, it provides the same sort of information about the syntactic structure of the sentence. While labeled bracketing takes up little space and provides relevant information, tree diagram also provides the same information but shows more clearly the syntactic information. Each label on the tree, other than the lexical items at the bottom, is called a node. So S2 is a node, S3 is another node, NP is a node, VP is a node. We say that a node dominates all the nodes below it in the tree that are connected to it by downward branches. So S2 in this tree dominates every other node in the tree. But NP, for example, dominates only det and n. Det and n dominate no other node. We say that nodes immediately dominated by another node are daughters to that node, and that node is the mother. So NP, for example, is mother to det, and n, who are daughters to NP. We say that daughters of the same node are sisters. We call the lexical items along the bottom of the tree the terminal string. Every node in the tree is called a constituent. So NP is a constituent, as is det, as is N, and so forth. The following simplified tree diagram illustrates the above. The snake killed the rat and it swallowed it. S1, S2, NP, death, N, VP, NP, N, V, death. The snake killed the rat. Chord, S3, NP, VP, N, V, NP, N, and it swallowed it. We can view this tree diagram format in two different ways. In one way, we can simply treat it as a static representation of the structure of the sentence at the bottom of the diagram. We could propose that for every single sentence in English, a tree diagram of the type could be drawn. The alternative view is to treat the diagram as a dynamic format, in the sense that it represents a way of generating not only that one sentence, but a very large number of sentences with similar structures. Phrase structure rules. This alternative approach is very appealing since it enables us to generate a large number of sentences with only a small number of rules. These rules are usually called phrase structure rules, and they present the information of the tree diagram in an alternative format. In phrase structure rules, there must be only a single symbol on the left-hand side of the arrow, while the right-hand side may have one or more symbols, as in the following. 1. S arrow NP plus VP. The rule is then read as a sentence consists of a noun phrase followed by a verb phrase. In addition to rules of this type, which generate structures, we can also have lexical rules, which indicate the word to be used for constituents such as N. For example, N, arrow, boy, girl, dog. This means that N is rewritten as boy, or girl, or dog. We can create a set of extremely simple and necessarily incomplete phrase structure rules which can be used to generate a large number of English sentences. 2. VP, arrow, V plus NP, V. 3. NP, arrow, det plus N, PN, pro. Lexical rules. 4. Det, arrow, the. 5. N, arrow, boy, hunter, elephant. 6. PN, arrow, John, Uche. 7. VT, arrow, chase, kill, devour. 8. VI, sleep, yawn. Rules 1 to 3 are called constituent phrase structure rules since they introduce and develop constituent structures. The first symbol S is called the initial symbol because it is the one that is expanded first, and the derivation of the whole sentence starts with this symbol. The symbols det, N, PN, VT, transitive, VI, intransitive, are terminal symbol. The constituent structure of these rules cannot develop them further. VP and NP can be further developed by the rules, and they are noun terminal. Take 2. And they are non-terminal. The lexical rules given above enumerate the class membership of each terminal symbol. Alternatively, the lexical rules of the lexicon provide this information. This is a preferred method, so the lexical rules in 4 to 8 can be eliminated. A lexicon is an unordered list of words. A general rule of lexical insertion is used to fill in the terminal node. Lexical insertion rules select from the lexicon a word that describes the class named by the terminal symbol in question. Note that the lexical insertion rule is, in formal terms, a different rule from the constituent structure rule, as it is not a rewrite rule like the PS rules. Rule conflation. This involves the reduction of the number of rules by bringing together similar rules and avoiding unnecessary repetition. For example, instead of stating 2 rules, VP as A, VP, arrow, V, plus NP, and B, VP, arrow, V, we can express the same thing as C, VP, arrow, V, NP, using the relevant symbols. Consider also the following: S, arrow, NP, VP, NP, at, adj, N, PN, PP, arrow, prep, NP, V, saw, followed, helped, PN, arrow, N, arrow, boy, girl, us, S, arrow, NP, VP, NP, at, adj, N, PN, VP, arrow, V, NP, PP, adv, PP, arrow, prep, NP, N, arrow, boy, girl, us, V, saw, followed, helped, PN, arrow, George, minor, prep, with, near, at, arrow, a, the, adv, yesterday, recently, adj, arrow, small, crazy. These rules will generate the grammatical sentences shown below as 1 to 7, but will not yield the ungrammatical sentences shown as 8 to 10. 1. The girl followed the boy. 2. A boy helped the horse. 3. The horse saw a girl. 4. Manna helped George recently. 5. George saw a horse yesterday. 6. A small horse followed Manna. 7. The small boy saw George with a crazy horse recently. 8. Boy the miner saw. 9. Helped a girl. 10. Small horse with girl. Study session summary. Thus far, you have been looking at linguistic units primarily in categorical terms. Categories like nouns or noun phrases can be identified in terms of their internal structure and constituents. See Lecture 11. Phrase structure grammar addresses syntax in terms of the distribution of items into categories within structures. There are different phrasal categories. These are noun phrase, verb phrase, prepositional phrase, adjectival phrase, and adverbial phrase. What is important in these groups is that the part of speech mentioned, like noun, verb, adjective, etc., will be the head of the group. Pretest. Draw at least 4 different tree diagrams using the PS rules below. 1. S arrow NP minus VP. 2. VP arrow V minus NP. 3. NP arrow depth minus N. Insert lexical items at the terminal nodes of the trees. We suggest that you choose from the following: A, the, A, this, that for the category depth. B, policeman, professor, girl, student for the category N. 4. What are rewrite rules? End of studies session 12. Thank you for listening.